Okay, our final product will be a die, singular dice, die with the letters kind of cut out and a nice stone. So this is a stone dice, could be 3D printed, and you would see, you see the texture on it. You'd have to paint this, of course, if you 3D printed it, but it could be a fun little thing. Or you could even do this without the stone, which would help these edges a lot more. Having two displacements can rough it up a little, but either way, you can print yourself a 3D die or not. So this will explain how. First thing we have is the default cube, and that is going to be our main focal point, so it gets to live. Yay! Default cube. Alright, the first thing I will do is go into the shader and zoom in a little bit so it's easier to see. I'm going to go ahead and have to do it this way. Well, I think you might. Anyway, image texture. I'm going to create a brand new image texture, and I will say new. Give it a name. We're going to call it dice, and we will give it, let's see, I would say 2048, even though you could double that and probably be even better off. 2048, 32-bit float, and new image. That will be instantaneous, and change color space to non-color. We don't need color where we're going. All right, that's pretty much set, but I'm going to go over here and add something called emission. Emission. If you recognize that, extra points. Okay, and then the image will be here. Image is all set. We're all ready. Let's go over to the scene. It will be cycles, because that's going to bring up bake. And I think it's ready to go. I think I just can click bake. Oh, nope, this has to be selected. Make sure that's selected, and that's selected. So they're both selected. Okay, bake, and let's see it bake. It's going to take a second or two, kind of fools you because it takes forever to get from 0 to 1, but then all of a sudden it jumps from 1 to, maybe, am I going to be fast forwarding this video till we get that? Nah, it's about there. I can fill the time, fill the dead space, maybe not. All right, it took about, I don't know, 10 seconds. Let me zoom out so you can kind of see what we're working with here. Okay, now you have the image map, or the UV map of a cube, which is really nice because everything's in place and it's just easier to work with now. I can click this, and I will click image and save. I'll save it as dice.png, yeah, you know me, and then I'm going to go ahead and open it in Photoshop, but you can use any photo editor. All right, I opened that image, and now I can see the PNG with all mapped up. This is the top here, or I consider it the top, and then 1 side, 2 side, 3 side, 4 side, and then tucked around the bottom, connecting here, invisible line, is the 5th side. So sometimes it helps to actually draw the guides, but I'm going to guess it for now. I'll just go ahead and take a text, zoom it up, and give it a nice size. This is going to be the one, I guess dice, technically dice use dots, but let's pretend this is like how the 20-sided dice don't use dots, they use numbers. So this is going to use numbers too. And I have a number 1. Now this has got very sharp edges, so 0 is white and black is 255, or vice versa. If you wanted it to be gradual, you would, well, you know what, I'll just do it. I'm going to rasterize the type so it's no longer editable, and I am going to add a filter, Gaussian blur, and now it's going to have a bit of a gradient. It's not going to go straight from top to bottom. It's going to have, a gradual. I'll move it over a little more because I can tell it's not quite center. And that's it. So I can save this as a PNG. Yeah, you know me. I'll make it nice and quick, but I have to tell it it is a PNG. And that's it. Almost it. Let's go back to Blender. I almost said TrueSpace. Okay, I am back in Blender once again. I'm going to go to the layout mode, and there's my cube, and go here. And add some modifiers. First modifier I'm going to add is the subdivision surface, because right now it only has one face, and one face isn't enough. Let's go 2, 3, start with 4. Another add modifier, and this is going to be displace. Okay, displace and new texture. And the texture, I'll go down here and I will say what the texture is. Open up that good old-fashioned dice copy that we made earlier. It's kind of wacky right now, but that can be fixed. Strength will be 0.1. Doesn't need to be that crazy. This will give me a better idea. And as you can see, it's not quite right. Not a problem. Go to the UV. Say it's a UV map. There it is. I can go ahead and shade smooth. And you can see that it's cool, but zoom in a little bit. Not quite there. I can lift this up to level 5 and Catmilk Clark. I don't know why I did that. Okay, and 6. But even 6, it's just not enough. So subdivision only goes up to 6, and sometimes it's best to just, I don't know, edge it out. And I will go into the cube and I will hit right click subdivide, and I'm going to just say it's got, I don't know, 40. It's an even number. So now it has 40 divided by 40, and now you can see. So I have some room. I can go, you know, make it coarser, or well, kind of looks cool too. Make it finer, and yeah. So that looks pretty good. I've got a dice with a 1 on it. I can save this as an STL and 3D print it, and I could be done. All right, but I'm going to take it a step further because I want my dice to be got it like a stone. I'm going to look like a piece of stone. So I'm going to add one more displacement. Well, actually, first I'm going to go to the shader because this will show you how it's going to look. Show shading. I don't need my emission anymore. I can just go back in with the normal one. The principled, Control-Shift-T if you've got that extension plugged in. All right, where is it? Okay, rock. I'm going to select them all, even though it's only going to use a section of it. It knows which one to use, so I don't worry about it when that happens. Okay, now I can see my rock, and I can kind of see how it's going to look displaced. Now, if I were to save it as that STL, I would not get the rocks deformation because it's only aesthetic. You can only see it right now, but it doesn't truly deform the mesh. And even if I converted this to a mesh, which I don't have to do because I like to stay non-destructive whenever possible, good motto for life, but I can go into here and I can add another modifier, and this will be the displace once again, displacement modifier. It goes a little crazy. I'll say it's a new texture, and slowing things down. I will go into that. Make sure you change this to texture 1, otherwise you're going to be modifying your other texture, which you probably don't want to do because it's the way you like it. So this is the texture that I would have to say, don't use this one, but use the rock displacement. It'll take a second. Again, it's defaults to crazy. 0.1 is probably good. And the second time would be the coordinates. Okay, I don't see my 1. Did I actually do what I said not to do? I did change my texture. I told myself not to do that. Okay, so go, yeah, they're both texture 1. This one needs to be texture 0, and the other one is texture 1. Okay, there's texture 1 and there's 0. So it helps to name them. You can avoid these problems, but I could save this as an STL and I would get a nice kind of cool pattern to print on my 3D print and then paint and have all sorts of fun with the 6-sided dice. So what I'll do now is maybe I'll go back to Photoshop and add the other numbers just for fun. Okay, now I've got all the other numbers. I think it's correct. They should all add up to 7, and the 6 might be upside down, but I'll find out. Let's go back to Blender. So back in Blender, I can look at texture here and just say, let's use something else, and that will be the dice copy 2. Replacing that, and as you can see, I now have my dice with all of the sides. So 1 mixed with 6, and then 2 mixed with 5. I might still need to turn these. Hard to know. Remember, the dice usually have dots. One thing to keep in mind is sometimes when you're adding textures that weren't really meant for cubes, they're not going to all play nice, and I can see that right there. I can go into my, I think it was texture 1, and kind of mess around with it and see, okay, maybe I'll go the other direction with it. If things are a little too sticky and kind of acting funny, and again, they may affect each other, but yeah, it might also take a little bit of work. I might convert it to, if I were continuing, I probably would convert it to a mesh and do a little bit of sculpting to kind of like smooth out these corners to make it really nice. But I think that looks cool. And did I actually add the texture? I don't know if I ever did. Yeah, I did. Okay. So it could use more lighting, but you can kind of see there's the texture. And yeah, I don't know if I like the sides being like that. I would have to probably work on that. So in here, I'm not sure that works, but you can play around with that and maybe bring the settings to different levels and see what works for you. But you kind of get an idea on how to apply really two textures or two displacements onto one surface to give you the effect that you wanted. Hope that helps. Cheers.